Greetings and salutations. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to today's upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you may know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter and are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into it, shall we? All right, so yesterday's upload, I talked briefly about some MK Ultra, Montauk chair, Montauk project, and Philadelphia experiment. On Saturday's live stream, someone had brought in apparently they had seen a video, and they had asked me about what I thought about a certain subject. Apparently, the person who asked had not seen the videos that I've done talking about Al Bellick, Duncan Cameron, Ed Cameron, Larry James, Preston Nichols. These are all people that were directly involved in the Montauk project, the Montauk chair, aka Montauk Boys, Philadelphia experiment, and pretty much the real version of Stranger Things. And apparently there's a video out there that had talked about a experience that did not happen. It sounded cool. It sounded really cool. But Preston Nichols and Duncan Cameron were the two main individuals of the Montauk Boys. There were others, but those were the two that were able to sit in this chair in a room using psychokinesis and summon from another dimension a creature. And there were not multiple thousands of them. There are dogmen in and around the base still to this day, guarding things that the government does not want people to get into. But the craziest part about all of this is the reality of the stuff is 10 times more terrifying than a fictitious story. Not only did they use 18 to older, mainly males, there was a couple females involved, but they used children. There's an underground base that had been found by a hiker in Scroon Lake, and he had shared the information. His son told him not to. This is like the 10, 11 years ago. And Actually, it was a little longer than 11 years ago. I remember seeing it when I've been sober. It'll be 10 years in April 2006 or 26. This information came out about a year before. And a guy had been hiking up in Schroon Lake in the mountains, the backside of the lake, had kind of gone off trail, tripped on a door, like a hatch, looks down, realizes, holy shit, there is a handle right here, pulls the handle up, and realizes there's a ladder going underground. And he went underground. And what he found was a room full of beds that were designed for children, not for adults, and photographs of these kids in this area, in this vicinity, being trained, so some of the pictures looked like they were at school. And the guy posted this, and his son's, don't do it, Dad. The gentleman passed away. I don't know if there was mysterious circumstances surrounding his death, and I'm not going to make it up and say, yeah, there was, because I don't know. I'm not going to, throw in some BS to make the story better, like other channels and disinformation. I just want to get the facts. I don't care if it makes the story sound less or better. I want credible. So we don't know if there was any kind of foul play involved. Now, at that point, the internet is scrubbed. And all the pictures, all the videos are pretty much taken off. I had a few. I thought I had saved some, but apparently I didn't. I've been looking for a couple days because I wanted to share them with you guys. Hopefully I can maybe use the Wayback Machine and come up with them. But if it's scrubbed, that only means one agency. And if they did it, then it's gone for good. But they were using, so Duncan Cameron, Preston Nichols were using psychokinesis to summon, or they used psychokinesis to summon creature from this portal. Duncan Cameron, a central figure on the Philadelphia experiment, a ship that pretty much was in hyperspace, just like Cameron fell off the ship in 43, came back, landed in 83. Hadn't aged. Didn't age a bit. Al Bellick is his brother. And it really is a really twisted tale. And all of these people legit worked with and for the government. The kids is the scariest part for me, because as a parent, that's all we want to do is keep our children safe. Who the hell is going to let the government take their kids and, here, we'll give you a bunch of money and give us your kid. We will turn him into a soldier. Well, there's a difference of being a soldier and being a super soldier. Teaching that child, honing that child's ability, that psychic kinesis, telekinesis, the paranormal ability, and teaching them how to kill than a regular soldier. Big difference. Big difference. So I want to share some of this with you guys because this is nuts. And I had mentioned this guy's name yesterday. His name is Duncan O'Finian. Robert Duncan O'Finian. And he is technically classified the ultimate warrior. And that is scary. Because if our government was doing this, think about this, 43. Where the hell did we get technology to... This is I laugh at this. I laugh at people when they're like, yeah, there's no evidence of those treaties existing. There's no evidence of aliens existing. Well, you know, they aren't aliens. They're freaking demons. And two, there's a hell of a lot of evidence. The government's coming out every day telling us that this shit's real. Well, they're limited to what they can tell us. But where in World War I, we were fighting, our soldiers were fighting with bayonets, getting mustard gassed, single shot, biplane, propellered biplanes, just, you know, the technology for them. 10 years later, 15 years later, we have a nuclear bomb, a bomb that can wipe out a whole city, and did. We have the ability to put a ship, a naval vessel, into hyperspace. It was there, and then it's gone. So how does that... And yet, the aliens, all they wanted, the demons, they just wanted to experiment on the humans. And that's another thing that we, or our shadow government, learned from them, is how to do those experiments. How to really mess with the human psyche, with the human everything. Let's get into this because this is just absolutely insane. And like I said, the reality is a hell of a lot scarier than fiction. All right, this is something that really will clarify that one bit of information that I was talking about. By 1983, Preston Nichols and Duncan Cameron concerns peaked. The project, they determined, must be stopped, and to do so, they would leverage the combined powers of the Montauk chair and Duncan Cameron's psychic abilities. But they weren't quite sure when they would enact this. That is, until August 12th. On that day, Nichols and Cameron continued their experiments as ordered, when suddenly strange phenomena began. Well, stranger than usual. The otherworldly equipment began to weir and click until it appeared to sync with something beyond the scientist's perception. When, as often would, the time portal opened, on the other side the USS Aldrich. It was time to destroy the project. As the others gathered at the Montauk Air Force Base, stared into the temporal doorway in amazement, Preston Nichols crept to Duncan Cameron in the Montauk chair and whispered, "It is time now." Immediately, Duncan Cameron imagined a hideous creature, and nearly instantaneously, the Montauk chair conjured this creature before him. A horrifying beast began feasting on anyone in its sights, destroying everything that stood between it and its prey. The surviving supervisors ordered Nichols to shut down the generators powering the equipment, but that failed to stop the beast. The experiment continued unabated as if powered by another force. So Nichols destroyed the equipment itself, and finally the monster faded into the ether. So what else happened was their plan was to open that portal and not only conjure a creature to destroy. They conjured the creature to destroy the equipment. Now, notice it was otherworldly equipment because it was given to us by these alien/demons. Just like they have for so long. The Luciferian agenda is real. And it has been going on since time immemorial. Since the 200 angels came and fell in love with the daughters of man and started to teach us different things. Teach us things that God didn't want us to know yet. That's the first corruption. And then as time went on and went on and went on, they realized, these humans are smarter than appeared. They have leaders, and these leaders have absolute power, and yada yada. So they would have these secret kind of meetings with our presidents, Truman, Eisenhower, Roosevelt, Hitler. I imagine Stalin, but I'm not sure. But I know the first four that I mentioned did. And they all had amazing technology it was a huge jump in technological advancement. And then as time went on, well, shit got worse. It really did. And not only did they create these super soldiers with psychokinesis, and like I said, it is scarier than Stranger Things. Duncan O'Finian was the ultimate warrior, brainwashed, conditioned, and controlled as a part of a highly classified MK Ultra program called Project Talent. From 1,000 others trained as a child warrior in 1966, he is now, he believes, the only one of 20 left alive to tell a story. In his powerful and compelling testimony, one of the most extraordinary ever heard, Duncan describes his missions to terminate the very drunk future president of the United States, George W. Bush. His dizzying enhanced physical and psychic abilities, including the abilities to hurl someone across the room with his mind and walk through a solid wall. His dizzying enhanced physical and psychic abilities, how he and 11 other children were flown to Cambodia to deliver a targeted death blow to all the surrounding Khmer Rouge troops, using only the combined powers of their mind. How his right arm is hardwired and is capable of astonishing speed and strength. His struggle to regain his memories, aided by a car accident which led to the discovery of a cranial implant uncovered by an MRI machine, deactivating the implant and causing the MRI machine to catch fire. His role as a programmed assassin targeting Americans under the command of an undisclosed agency. Wonder which agency. The selection, torture, and brutal training process that he endured and which children are undergoing to this day, and more. 20 years later, Duncan, who is mixed Cherokee and Irish, comes forward to tell the truth of this ultimate warrior project. How he has chosen, groomed, and tortured into becoming the perfect fighting machine, combining physical superiority with an extraordinary mental ability. Psychic, spy, fearless, principled, and determined to regain control over his life. This is Duncan O'Finian's story. Cassidy asks a question. Carrie Cassidy asks this question. Let's back up and find out exactly how you had gotten into this program. Duncan O'Finian. They wanted people who were half Native American and half Celtic. Whether it's Scottish, Irish, didn't matter as long as it was Celtic. The reason for that is the Native American and Celtic are two races on Earth that are more superimposed to paranormal ability or psi ability. Okay, as a matter of fact, both of these cultures practice paranormal ability. So it's a kind of genetic memory. It's in our genetic memory, okay? I thought that was basically what it was until about 2 years ago when I found out that my father was a CIA agent. My father has been dead now for almost 15 years. I never had a clue, but with that new information, it made a lot of smaller tidbits of information and a lot of things that happened in the past. Now it all fits. Basically, what happened to me in 1966, I was 6 years old and both of my parents loaded me into a trunk and took me to town. It was dark, cold, snowy. I'll never forget that day because it stands out. Why are we going to the hardware store this late in the afternoon? So we go into the store, and at the time my mom and dad aren't fighting, but they aren't getting along. And I have been in this store several times with my granddad, and we'd go into the back. I've never been in the back, and there's a door there. And if you didn't know it was there, you'd walk right by it. So we go in, and there is 6 or 7 other kids my age. They're all sitting at these tables, like kindergarten tables, sitting down low in these small chairs. And they all had the same things. They looked like puzzle pieces. Well, this lady comes in that did not fit. She's tall, elegant, fur coat. This is Eastern Kentucky. This doesn't happen. All right. And she played a very prominent role in there. I have seen for several of these memories, and she set me down to play. She gave me a stack of blocks and what they are, puzzle pieces, and says, I want you to make me a picture. And she walked off. So I looked around for my mom, and she was with a guy who is in a suit, who again should not be there. And she had a clipboard signing some papers. At 6 years old, I was puzzled, but you don't think that much of it. So I sat there, I started taking these puzzle pieces, and I said, this fits, this doesn't fit. And I'm going to make this picture. I sit back, the lady walks up to the front. The guy walks up behind me. She looks at him and smiles and says, we've got one. And that's when it started. I was given something to drink. I remember feeling sleepy, and that's it. I was given something to drink, and I remember, okay. So then Carrie asks, so are you saying you did go with your parents home? No, I didn't. Carrie, I see. Duncan, I was taken directly. This is what I found out later, because once I went to sleep with whatever was in that drink, Kool-Aid, soda, or whatever, put me out. My next memory was at 9.5 years old. Carrie, so you have a blank in your memory now? Duncan, yeah. Now I have some memories that have come back, and I have bits and pieces of what happened during all of that. Some very vivid, some I have documented. Some are just memories that are there. And then there are some from there. Carrie. So, at 9 years old, why do you remember 9? What happened then? Duncan. Because I had been taken a stint at a local hospital, University of Kentucky. They did some procedures that no one ever has really been able to explain to me. Even as an adult, I tried to get the records, and no one will release those records to me. And from there, I had a couple of years as a kid where everything seemed okay. A lot of paranormal activity going on all of the going on and all that. And then at 14, I'm gone again. Gone to the hospital, Carrie? No, gone. Memories gone, Carrie. Oh, okay. So looking back though, you basically feel that you were trained as a soldier during that time. Duncan, yes. Carrie, can you describe some of those trainings? The easiest way to do that is to back up for 1 second. Carrie, sure. And here we go. So, really quick, Duncan O'Finian, the project that he was in was Project Talent. Andrew Puro, Project Superman. Montauk Boys, Preston Nichols, Duncan Cameron. All of these projects were designed for turning humans into weapons. Out of 1,000 kids, only 20 in Project Talent became what Duncan O'Finian was. And this is where it starts right here. Duncan, imagine Project Talent. The people in Project Talent being sent to school, okay? When we were in elementary school, we were taught the same thing. That's where the martial arts training started. I have vivid memories of 15, 20 of us in a group with adults, and they trained us as adults. There was no kid gloves. 7 years old, 8 years old. You got your ass kicked. I mean, they beat you tremendously. You learned. Carrie, Once you and the paranormal training started as well. That's where they are weaning who is good at that, who is good at this, who's going to be a soldier, who's going to be a psychic spy. And you have at this time certain, like a black belt in karate? Carrie asks. Duncan answers. Even after I continued on, I took classes on my own, started a couple studios. I hold a 5th degree black belt now, legitimately a 5th degree. Carrie, in the real world, so to speak. Damn right. Carrie, you also said something in an interview I read that said something about remembering when you started teaching karate. This is how you triggered some of your early memories of all of this. Duncan, yeah. There was one incident in particular. I had a friend of mine who was an ex-Green Beret. And he was more than a regular. He would come and work out with me when he was home on leave or those kinds of things. And he was sparring one night. He was a big, raw-boned guy. You know, he was going to want to borrow my path without sweating. So we're sparring, and I did a technique that when he came off of the floor, his angry bamboozled. He's angry, bamboozled. Where did you learn that? And it hit me. I don't have a clue. Where did I learn that? He said that came straight off the farm. I'm 19 years old. The farm? What are you talking about? Cattle farm? Pig farm? I don't have a clue. And he said the CIA training facility, the farm. And those things started clicking. Okay. And when I really started getting my memories back was about 8 or 9 years ago when I was in an automotive accident. Ruptured 3 discs in my neck. And when they finally gave me an MRI, the electromagnetic renaissance didn't mesh with the cranial implant, Carrie, that you had gotten? Duncan, somewhere, somehow, I have a cranial implant. And I say this because I have it on film. And when they put me in the MRI machine, when they turned it on, when it started to spin, right, Carrie? Duncan, imagine tremendous pain. Also, imagine you are there and you see thousands of TV screens and they come at you at once. On each one of those TV screens is a picture. Each picture is a memory. And it just keeps coming. Carrie, that's amazing. Duncan, that's how it started. That's how I got my memory again. Carrie. And now, I don't know, was this also correct? You were screaming and the MRI blew up? The machine itself caught on fire. That's what brought me out of it. Because I'm there in nothing but my underwear and a gown, holding my head, screaming bloody murder. I noticed smoke. And the techs came out. The nurses came out. And they wanted to do all of this. They were getting me out of there. They started with the fire extinguisher. Carrie. Now, do you still have the cranial implant to this day? Duncan. It's still there. It's just, from what I understand, it's not working. Carrie. What makes you think it's not working? Duncan. Because I haven't had to use it anymore. I haven't had a blackout spell and be gone for 3 or 4 days out of the week with no memory. They stopped. This one is dead center in the farm. It looks like a grain of rice, and it's just dead center in the brain. It's right there. Carrie, it's that small? It's that small, Duncan states. Wow, Carrie. And I had it checked through independent sources. They all looked at it. You got a problem. That's got to be removed. Man, you're going to die. I say, no, it's fine. Don't tell me. Don't tell them what it is. I just want to get their opinion. Hear what they are going to say. I don't say anything unless I have proof of I have someone else who is willing to sign I have proof, or I'll have someone else who is willing to sign a deposition saying that they were there. They saw it. They know. If I don't have proof, I'll say, this is what I think. Carrie. Okay, so back to when you were a child and you go to the hospital, you said, Carrie. Did you have something going on with your body that changed at the time? Do you know what happened? Duncan. I remember going through a procedure. And I remember waking up in this machine, and this would have been 1969. I remember the machine was about the size of a table, came with a wrap, and they were bringing it down on top of me. And it would get hot. I wasn't supposed to wake up. I was supposed to be drugged completely. Well, I woke up in the middle of it. And I remember being dozens of tubes lying to each side of me where they had been plugged in one at a time. Now, what happened? I don't know. Carrie. Now, did you have uncommon strength, or were you, did you notice drastic changes in your outlook towards reality? I mean, at 14, this was probably hard to tell, but as time went on, do you think that you've developed at a different rate than some other children because of this? Yeah, I think so. I've always been stronger, faster, more endurance than anyone around, and that is also the same with all the others that came up through these projects. This is part of the super soldier structure. They want the super soldier to be just that, super, beyond normal, faster, stronger, more endurance, pain tolerance, etc., on and on and on, and that's what they want. Carrie. So can you tell us what abilities you have at the peak of your performance, if you want to call it that? What do you think you were capable of? Duncan. Physical ones? Yeah, I kept the paranormal abilities. I have some. The main paranormal abilities came out when the ultimate personality comes out. That's one of the things that they did to us, was to give us this ultimate personality. We were trained in an ultimate personality. I have witnesses that saw me bust heavy bags with a punch. You're not supposed to be able to do that. I was measured for punching power, speed, and everything at Burlington, Wisconsin, at a facility up there. It is no longer there. That did all of the testing for pro sports, for football teams, and all that. My punching power at the time was my weight, 175 pounds. And when you were talking, how many years ago, or what year, generally speaking? 1984. And in the spring of 84, and the testing came out as unreal. My punching power was heavier, stronger than that of a super heavyweight boxer. Kicking power, speed was even more than that. My kicks in my right leg were 125 miles an hour. My punching power was well over 180 to 190 that burst or bust concrete blocks. Okay, now in terms of your psychic abilities, what were those? My primary psychic ability are the ones that I have kept in this personality. Being able to get into someone's mind, being able to foresee what events in real time. And when I mean get into someone's mind, I don't mean read their mind, read their thoughts, hear their thoughts. It's more of what some people that I work with now are calling picting. We see pictures of their thoughts, like you may be thirsty thinking of soda. I'll look at you and I'll see a Pepsi can. That's what would happen. And these types of ability to a fighter, a soldier, or an assassin. Think of the edge that gives you. Carrie. So, do you have absolute recall of times when you were the other personality? Now, Duncan, I have witnesses to that, yeah. You see, what happened is I am not supposed to remember anything. Carrie, I imagine. Duncan, the people who start to remember are usually late 50s, early 60s. Much too old to really do anything. But I am not saying 60s old, but in this society, to be the time you're 60, 62, anywhere in there, people write you off. Carrie, so how old are you now? Because I can't tell. I'm 46. Everybody says that you don't look 46. Everyone says that you don't look 46. That's one of the other traits that we have. Carrie, longevity? Question mark. Yeah. Carrie, okay. Duncan, most of the people who start getting their memories back when they get their memories back are the ones whose personalities begin to mesh. They are no longer personality A, personality B. anymore. They start going together. So when all of these memories start coming and meshing with other memories, they go nuts. Carrie, most people? Question mark. Duncan, yeah, most of these people end their own lives. Okay, and the ones who didn't wind up in asylum? Bill Ryan. Bill Ryan is another person asking questions in this. He just popped in. Is it possible, Duncan, that a lot of these people are programmed to end their own lives? Duncan, yeah. Bill Ryan, to kind of self-destruct when they are no longer useful? Duncan, yeah. Carrie, so you sort of beat the system in a certain sense? Duncan, yeah. Carrie, you must have had struggles. So what's happening? What's keeping you going? What do you think has allowed you to sort of maintain? Duncan, after the car accident, we moved from this area. We moved to upstate New Jersey. It was never supposed to lift anything over 5 pounds again. I was never supposed to be able to hold my arm above my head again. That's how serious the accident was. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting in my apartment in New Jersey, and this little voice comes in. What is your problem? What's wrong with you? You wimp. You're going to give up. You've been a fighter all your life. Get up and fight. I started doing push-ups that night. A year later, I'm fine. Carrie, so basically brought yourself back from your injuries. Duncan, the injuries still there. I can go to a neurologist right now and let him do an x-ray. And they'll look at me and say that I need brain surgery, but I'll refuse to go. The pain is still there. I live with pain 24/7. Again, if this hadn't happened, or hadn't happened, to me as a kid, yeah, I'm probably taking pain pills on a regular basis. Carrie, but you're not? I take nothing. Duncan. Carrie, now I'm curious because you have this tattoo on your arm. It actually looks kind of beautiful. Is there something that you put in, something that you got in Vietnam? There we go, sorry. No, this was supposed to be one of a kind, my design. Really? This was something that came to me in a dream, actually. Whoa. And I designed it. Carrie, is that a dragon? It's a dragon. I had a tattoo artist do it for me. And it stayed one of a kind for a couple years. All of a sudden, I started seeing it out. She does have her work on the internet. And I am walking in Walmart across the street of all places 6 months ago. And that is on the front cover of the paperback novel, identical. And you designed it? And I did. Once when I was 12 years old, I know people say it was 1972, you were in Vietnam. It was 72. Actually, it wasn't Vietnam. It was Cambodia. We weren't supposed to be in Cambodia. A Navy SEAL team and a Marine Corps recon team were pinned down in Cambodia by the Khmer Rouge. They called in for reinforcements from somebody to get them out. I'm telling you exactly what the Marine Corps recon captain and Navy SEAL captain told me. Now, I have my own memories of it, but I saw it from my point of view. I am going to tell you from their point of view. One black helicopter lands. 12 kids come off the copter. Yeah, there were still a couple of things emotional. Take your time. We have all the time in the world. I can understand. I know. Long pause. Very emotional now. We came off the chopper, formed a semicircle. We all held hands. Were you all boys? No. We were all about the same. Were you all the same age? Carrie asked. Were you all the same age? Yeah, I was the oldest, Carrie. So, all around the same age of 12. Anywhere between the age of 9 and 12, I was the team leader. We held hands, raised our arms, and killed them all. Carrie, who did you kill? Duncan. Every Khmer Rouge soldier within 20 miles. Carrie. How is that your powers were able to target the other side and not? Duncan. I was like the lead battery, but I wasn't the one who did the target. Carrie. You didn't actually aim your powers. You guys were the power. Duncan. Someone else did the aiming. Carrie. Was it the kids that did the aiming or one of the other kids? Duncan. One of the other kids. Carrie. Oh, okay. Now, did you know the other kids? Duncan. I know one of them right now. Carrie. Now, is this person willing to come forward or no? No, not at this time, Duncan. Carrie. Are they even aware that they are one of them? Duncan. Yes. Carrie. Well, we really appreciate that you are sharing this with us because it's obviously a huge thing and people never really like talking about the sort of negative side of their powers. But obviously this is one of the applications. Duncan. It's not that. It's funny. I did a lot of things that were not of my doing, not of my making. Some of them bring out an emotional response. Some don't. Some are kind of like, so what? And some I have no control. And I go through this a little emotional. And then I am fine with it. I cannot cry on command. Believe me, I've tried. He laughs. But the way it was explained to me makes perfect sense. 12 kids. Imagine 12 batteries connected. You have one battery. You might get nothing. Add 2, you get a jolt. Add 3, you get a burn. Add 12, you get electrocuted. That's basically what we did. 12 of us linked, joined up through everything. Kind of a semicircle, starting from the center because I was the center. Like this, and illustrates with his hand. That's what happened. And Carrie. And this was something you guys were obviously trained to do. Do you have memory at all? Has anything come back of your trainers? Duncan. Remember that lady at the hardware store? She figured very prominently when I was young. The next memory I have of her was in a lab coat. And I am in this house. It's been described to me like a mansion. And I have a couple of ideas where this place is or was, but I have no proof. I'm in the hallway. And there's green and white tile. Just huge, 12 by 12. These 12 by 12 tiles on the floor. And I am doing something that all of us had come out of this at the same trait. We don't come down on one knee or anything like that. We squat. It makes no sense in some ways, but in some ways to us it does. We squat on the balls of our feet and our arms out loose. It's almost like an animal. About 10 feet away I have a small water bucket and what I am doing is raising the bucket, trying to turn over and set it down gently. Carrie, raising it with your mind or your hands? Duncan, correct. Just our mind. I see. So that is just some of the interview with Duncan. And as you can see, both Duncans, Duncan Cameron, Duncan O'Finian, Preston Nichols, and many more were all honed by the shadow government to be assassins, to be super soldiers, genetically to be just somehow their genetics were known and looked upon prior to their parents giving them to these programs. This is the real Stranger Things. There is no other, and the reality is so much more terrifying. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone's simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.